And just to circle back on, you know, our original question, which was like, what are things that, you know, the industry can do to be more inclusive in terms of representation? And ultimately, from all of us, it's proper funding for indie studios really doing the legwork. And then digging deeper into what, you know, Pika had really started on is that historically, marginalized communities are severely underfunded. There's no resources, there's no, for like just general education, opportunities. And the thing is that these roles in gaming where people are being placed to champion representation, to champion that inclusivity, it doesn't happen because these underserved communities are a lot of the time just not given the chance, and therefore they can't even make it to that table to have a seat. You know, as someone who also comes from an underserved, you know, community myself, the only reason I'm here today is because of my pure drive to swim. Because if I don't swim, I will sink. There wasn't anything to help me. At the time when I first started in, you know, with streaming, there weren't resources. There really wasn't anything. And I had to pave my way and make a seat for myself. And even then, still fighting for my seat, just like all of us are fighting for that seat. I want to go on to another question. And, you know, I think we're all here for different reasons, you know, and the way that we are using our platforms are ways to help others. And it's pretty clear, at least with this group, right? And I want to know what first made you start creating content in the gaming space in the first place. And I want to start off with Dynamic.
Okay, so my YouTube channel, I guess we'll start there. My YouTube channel, DynamicReactions. It used to be Dynamic Duo Reactions because I started my YouTube channel with my mom. We would react to our favorite shows together. That was like our thing. We were just being cute and, you know, goofy. And I always thought that like streaming was something that I would at least want to try and do and see how well it would go. I always say I came in at the right time because accessibility was really starting to be a thing in the gaming space when I first started during the pandemic. Being an accessibility advocate wasn't really something I'd ever thought that I would do, but it's given me like such a fun and cool purpose being here and being on Twitch and meeting cool people like everybody here. But yeah, that's the reason why I started creating content, was just to like have fun. Hopefully people walk away from my content and learning something with like a sense of joy is what I strive to do. So
I love that. How about you, Mia? What made you start creating content?
Oh God, if I'm going to be honest, crippling loneliness, probably. Well, basically, when I started creating content, I'd just come back from living like in China for 6 months, and I'd lost a bunch of stuff. I'd lost my job. I didn't have a place to live anymore because while I was over there, my mom decided to sell the house and move to a different country. So that was wonderful to come back to. And so I found myself like working, trying to create a new business for myself. I didn't really play video games anymore, and I was in the early stages of transition where a lot of my former like ties and friendships have kind of like fallen to the wayside. Not sure if that had anything to do with me coming out as trans, but we all tended to drift apart, unfortunately. And so I saw streaming as an opportunity to be like, hey, I want to play video games, but also I'm putting so much time and effort into this new business thing that if I do it by myself, I kind of feel like it would be a waste of time. So you know what? I'm just going to do it streaming. Maybe I can meet some people, talk to people, make some new friends. And yeah, that's kind of where it began for me. I was completely terrified at the time of chat and anybody that spoke. And I think I was told by a friend of mine, is like, you can tell how unaware and like you're being very, very hesitant to even talk to people online. And I'm like, yeah, of course, I'm terrified. I was like a trans person that had just come out and started like living life as myself. And developed a community from there and started getting more ties to the online trans community, which is like very, very, very cool, and allowed me to do some very cool stuff in terms of like advocating for my community, mostly by screaming on Twitter almost every day. So yeah, as well as like all the other stuff I do for like charities and stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to raise awareness about what the community goes through and what marginalized communities in general go through. That's brought me a lot of joy for seeing the people that are all coming together to try and help each other. And so that's how I got into it.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Both you and Dynamic. That's, it's beautiful to see, like, and I guess understand and hear about that journey, because I feel like we all follow each other on Twitter, but a lot of the time we don't necessarily get to interact as much as maybe some of us would like, or understand each other on an even personal level. So it's nice to hear, your drive and what brought you here. And then lastly, Pika.
I'm having a wonderful time hearing folks' origin stories and their lore. I love that Dynamic started her YouTube with her mom. That's so cute. I have a little bit more like, I always tell people, and this is not me self-deprecating, I always tell people like mine is so like kind of plain and just like regular. I've been on Twitter for a good while, probably since like 2010 or so, 2010. And I just randomly one day saw a friend of mine tweeting about Twitch. And I was like, what is this? So I just went to the link, and it was actually the stream of someone named Maximilian Dude. And I just sat there kind of watching for a little second. I was like, what is this? I was intrigued. And then it dawned on me that he is literally just sitting in front of a camera playing video games. And I was like, I didn't even know Twitch existed. Like, this is so cool. I was like, I'm pretty funny. I'm pretty good at video games. I can do that. So this was about a year after the PS4 came out, when they were releasing the white one, and like the Desi and everything came out. So I decided it was going to be then that I was going to get my PS4 and start streaming. So literally not too soon after I got it, my PS4 bundle came with infamous Second Son. And I just created my Twitch and went live, and I had a smooth 2 and 3 viewers. All of which were friends, currently like friends that I just was friends with at the time, just people that were just there to support, but I really, really liked it. I was like, this is cool. Like, I didn't have a camera at the time. Like, it was probably pretty awkward because it was quiet most of the time, but I was like, this is really interesting. And then not too soon after that, I ended up streaming the Silent Hills PT teaser, and that was a wonderful time. Folks really like you being scared. I'll just put it like that. But that was another moment, because I that stream, I had like 50 some viewers, and I was like, where did this come from? But I had a wonderful, wonderful time, and just being scared and seeing people so entertained over the fact that I was scared. So, and it stuck. I wasn't able to really take it seriously or kind of do it as much as I wanted to when I was in college. But afterwards was when I kind of buckled down and was able to do it more consistently. And now here I am.
And we're glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then for me, it's kind of similar in a way, a little bit, like with Pika's story, actually. So I was just playing Xbox with some friends one day, and I was in a party. One of my friends' joined. Guy I didn't even know, right? And I'm just like talking, playing with my friends, or playing, I think it was like Call of Duty. I used to play a lot of shooters. And this guy, he just like leans into his microphone and he's like, hey, are you a streamer? And I'm like, sir, what is a streamer? And he's like, yeah, a streamer. It's Twitch or whatever, like streamer. And
this voice is killing me.
And I'm just like, first off, are you okay? Secondly, what is a streamer and what is Twitch? And then he's like, oh, it's like video games and like people playing them and stuff. If you're not streaming, you should check it out. And I was like, all right, dude. Like, I thought this guy was just like, you know, elevated beyond comprehension and just talking. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna humor him. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna check it out. So I look it up and I look at Twitch as a website and I see people, you know, streaming, playing video games. And I was like, oh, I love video games. This looks like something that I could maybe do. Like, this looks kind of fun. And I leaned into it because, like, at the time I didn't have a career. I didn't have, I didn't go to college. I didn't, you know, have any higher education. At the time I was literally working at a GameStop. I think we all have worked at a GameStop at some point in our lives. So I didn't like have a lot, you know? So then I decided to start it and try it. And it was very eye-opening for me because it allowed me to sort of be myself and understand who I was. It helped me emerge from the shell that I was sort of in, just because I didn't have the most positive environment growing up. And it helped me develop who I was. It gave me purpose. And, you know, I realized I loved helping people. I loved being on this platform, helping people, and just the whole experience was something unlike anything I had ever experienced. And I remember my first, I went to a PAX for the first time. And this was when Twitch used to have booths at PAXs. They don't anymore, but they did. And I remember being in that booth, standing there and looking around, and I saw 3 people of color. 3. I was shocked, honestly, because the lack of representation at the time, there truly was none. And there was this guy in the crowd because you couldn't get into the booth without a pass. And he waves at me and he's like, Friskk, Friskk. And I'm just like, hi. He's like, hey, can I say hi? And then I was like, absolutely. I was like, and then I went over and I let him into the booth and I was like, he's with me. And I brought him in. And then he's like, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I just wanted to say that it's really cool to see someone like you streaming and doing the thing. I have 2 beautiful little Afro-Latina daughters, and being able to see someone like you thriving in an environment like this is so important. And I want you to keep doing that. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate you. And at that moment, I realized that like that representation is important. Because there are children, there are teenagers, there are so many, you know, people out there growing up who look at video games and streaming and they're just like, I wish I could do that. I don't see anyone like me. But here they were seeing someone like me, and I realized how much even just me being in the space was making such a huge impact. And, you know, it's not just about like, in this roundtable, we're talking about representation and, you know, impact and being able to see yourself in games. But sometimes it's not even just about seeing yourself in games, but it's also about seeing people like you doing things that maybe you didn't expect to see.
Yeah, that makes me think about when Twitch, my first front page spot for Twitch, like ever, was for GAD and I think Global Accessibility Day for everybody else who doesn't know, in like 2020 or something like that. Obviously, it was my very first front page spot. I was nervous. I had like 3 viewers at the time, okay? So I'm like this little baby streamer, you know, Twitch reaches out in the email and they're like, hey, do you want to do this? And I'm like, me? But anyways, I ended up streaming for however many hours I was up there. And there were so many people that were just like, wow, I've never seen somebody like me stream before on Twitch. Disabled, Black, like I've never seen anybody like this. And it was just like, wow, that gave me enough chutzpah to keep creating content all year long, because it's just like, even moments when you're feeling a little burnt out, you know, you think of the people who are just like, this is inspiring and I'm happy to see you. It's very great. It's good motivation.
I love that so much. That's so sweet.
Same.
Like, that's such a beautiful memory. I actually want to like continue on that, like on that memory route where it's like, you know, what is like your favorite memory of, you know, when you first started creating content, or when you realized that you being here was making a positive impact?
Honestly, I can't even necessarily pinpoint it to one specific moment. It's honestly something that keeps happening from time to time. I mean, not constantly, but constantly would be nice, of course. But it's something that does happen, you know, at least probably every couple months or so, where, and I'm sure that this, you know, possibly happens to the rest of us here at least once, but like, when you get that person, and typically it's newer folks that do this, when they're kind of new in your space and in their, you know, stream or you know, your YouTube comments, et cetera, and they say something along the lines kind of what like Dynamic had, you know, got that first time that she was on front page, where it's, you know, I'm so glad to have found, you know, another like Black woman streamer, or another, you know, disabled streamer, another trans streamer. Like, they say things like that, or they'll say like, I love the vibe here, it's so welcoming. I've noticed that I almost want to say typically when it does happen is when you're like, when, you know, your peers or your friends or your loved ones will sort of, you know, that are also content creators, will come in and like raid you. A lot of times you'll get that sort of compliments and sort of acknowledgement from people from like, you know, adjacent communities, essentially. A lot of times it's people that, even though we're not like, we may not be friends or something like that, but even just, you know, peers or people that are kind of in the same realm of, you know, being outspoken and being advocates for the sort of stuff that we advocate for, right? But yeah, they'll share their communities, and a lot of times they'll come over and say just such nice things like, I love it here, or, oh, I'm so glad that, you know, so-and-so rated, you know, you, and because you're this and that, and et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like, I mean, I'm very lucky enough to get a lot of support from like my loved ones and things like that. But I think that when it comes from those strangers, those people that are meeting you for the first time, and those people that, you know, it's like they've known you or been seeing you or known about your existence all of 5 minutes, and they're already like, wow, I love it here, or you're amazing because you talk about this and XYZ. And so those little comments there, just, it makes me, that's the moment where I truly feel the impact of what I'm doing, and I feel wanted and I feel needed. And I feel like that's a huge part of you know, essentially our existence within this space. Is, I think we at some point or another have all struggled with not feeling wanted, not feeling needed, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's nice to just have those kind of reminders to say like, there are people that want you here, and you are making an impact, even if you can't always see it, or you're not always like consciously aware of it.
In the same vein of that, I think what leaves the most impact on me is the people that have come to me, say, after they've decided to start transition, for instance. There's a lot of trans women over the years. I've been doing this a long time now. I think it's going to be coming up 7 years this year, that have come to me and said, seeing you just being like, me being a visible creator in the space is the reason that they managed to figure out who they are and accept themselves, what they are, to learn and have the resources to know that they're not wrong, they're not like some weird thing, because there's a lot of confused people out there just because of the lack of information. And them telling me that I was the reason that they decided to be the person that they wanted to be, that always sticks with me. It's happened probably less than a dozen times that I can remember in terms of people actually communicating to me, but it just lets me know, yeah, I am having an effect on people. I think like most recently, a rather mid to big streamer actually came out as being trans, who had been on the platform for a very long time. I won't say their name for privacy reasons, but they sent me a DM saying that my presence and me being so outspoken in the community about who I am and what I stand for gave them the strength. Like, it was a huge pillar of strength for them to even do that. And I was like so touched to even be thought of in that way, that I'm potentially making a difference, because like all I'm doing is just playing video games online. Like, but if that gives other people strength, that means so much to me.
I'm getting a little emotional because that's like so sweet.
Same, actually.
Yeah, like that is I think that just goes back to talking about how powerful representation is, right? And in that instance, Mia, like that person who reached out to you, like your presence and your, you know, just you being in this space, being unapologetically you, had them feeling empowered to be able to be like, hey, this is me. I am unapologetically me. And that's what it does. You know, representation, it empowers us. It empowers us to feel confident and to feel powerful and to feel like we can be ourselves, because if there's other people doing this and they're doing just fine, I'm going to be okay. You know?
Mm.
Man, I love this conversation right now. Shout out to Logitech for letting us have these conversations. I love it. I love it so much.
Right.
Talking about the things, you know, our favorite memories of how, you know, how we feel like our presence is impacting the space in a positive way in regards to inclusivity and representation and things like that. You know, what are the things that keep you going, you know, even when you feel demotivated?
Honestly, for me, on top of like all of what I've just said about like the highlights of it, that also keeps me going. But one of the things is the haters. The haters keep me going. The drive to overcome and prove them wrong and literally just stick it to them. It's like, I will never give up, back down, or surrender because I cannot let them win. That is one of the biggest driving forces. So it's like, I don't like getting, you know, all the hate that I get online, but at the same time, thank you for making it so I can just fight back against you, because it feels damn good sometimes.
That's well said. That's very well said. It's like, you can hate me, but you're just my biggest fan. I'm gonna keep going.
I'm not going anywhere. Just to spite
Put
you.
it on a shirt.
Just to spite you.
I continue to spite them.
Keep refreshing my
Fueled
feed.
by spite.
fuels me.
I love that so much.
Right.
Yeah, your hate makes my analytics look so good.
See,
I am so petty,
that's
but
what they don't understand. It's crazy. Like a good example of that is like I ended up doing an accessibility review on Elden Ring. Elden Ring is not accessible.
No,
if you know
it's
the
not.
Souls fandom, you know. That was one of the most popular accessibility reviews that I ever did. And like, you know, there are people who were understanding. They came later. But you know, that first wave of people was absolutely just egregious. And I'm just like, thank you for the many comments that are adding to my algorithm and the dislikes.
yeah.
But it's moments like that keep me going. It's moments like also from that Elden Ring video, like people saying, wow, you know, I never thought of this that way. Or like, I'm an older Souls player and I've been thinking the exact same things. I was just scared to say it. I love when people come into my stream or come into whatever content and they learn something new or shift their perspective on something. I find that to be a cool motivator for me.
Yeah, it can definitely be motivating, just knowing that like you're championing that inclusivity, you know, that need for the accessibility, and then people are just like, hey, you know, I'm learning so much, and like you're just hearing you and seeing you on my feed is just like broadening my horizons, broadening my knowledge, and, you know, letting me know that these issues exist and, you know, what I can possibly do about it, you know?
Right.
And Pika, how about you? What keeps you going when, you know, things are...
I'm so glad that that they were honest and said that they are oftentimes fueled by spite, because same, actually. And I think that that's okay, right? I think that a lot of people like aren't open in saying that, but it's like, yeah, you can absolutely use that as a motivator. It's kind of like that funny meme that that I have saved to my phone. It's a meme that has like Woody from Kingdom Hearts, Woody and Sora, and it's like, I'm not a hater, but it's like, don't worry, I am. But obviously that, of course, only applies to the people that, you know, direct things at us, you know, first. But yeah, aside from, you know, being sometimes fueled by spite, pure spite, you know, very generic cookie cutter answer, my community. My community will be the first ones, my community, and even like my husband and my parents will be the first ones to, you know, sort of reassure me and first of all, congratulate me for the really cool things that I do, the, you know, good news that I get, cool opportunities I get, things of that sort. My husband and my mom and stuff will always, you know, be proud of me, celebrate, be happy for me. And then, you know, my community is just always there to like, you know, reassure me if I'm having like doubts about something, or they're actually kind of the reasons that I'm getting out of the habit of apologizing when I shouldn't, like apologizing for canceling streams and things like that. And they're always willing to sort of offer that reassurance and then give me my space when I kind of need it. So if I'm having like a rough week or rough couple days and I just need to kind of take some time away and take some time to myself, they always, you know, comfort me and reassure me like, hey, we'll be here when you get back, you know, take your time. Like it's to the point where it doesn't even honestly feel like and obviously not within the realm of like parasocial relationships or anything, but it's, I mean, it sounds probably cliche to say, but they sound like family. I mean, they feel like family because it's like, I don't feel like this is like some audience, some viewers, like strangers, like me going up in front of a theater stage. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like I am streaming for a bunch of my friends. And I mean, some of them obviously are my friends, but even just, you know, having that feeling for like everybody that's there is a wonderful feeling, because I know a lot of people I don't think have that, to where they can kind of feel like at home within their communities. And you can tell when your community doesn't just see you as like a form of entertainment or a source for content. It's very much, you are a human being with your own thoughts, own feelings, and your own needs. You know, you need breaks, you need rest time, et cetera, et cetera. And when you have someone that sees your humanity in that regard, it's just, it puts a lot less stress on you, because I mean, we as creators are already like, we get it from so many different directions. In addition to all the issues surrounding representation and just, you know, our lack of opportunities as compared to, you know, our cishet male counterparts, and then not to mention gestures broadly to everything around me, the whole entire world, everything. So it's nice to kind of have some people that like actively recognize your humanity and understand that you are not just a content machine, like keep cranking things out that exists for other people's consumption. It's, you know, you are a human with feelings and needs, and, you know, we're here for you. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that, you know, I feel that same sentiment, because it's like when you're looking to be motivated when things are, you know, maybe not as great, it's like your community that you've built, it's not just, you know, just your community of people, but it's like it almost feels like they're your friends, you know, like they are your friends. They're your, in some ways, like even just like a small little family. And you're making a positive impact on these people. You know, that's definitely one of the things that keeps me going. The fact that I know I have a platform where I can champion for others, that keeps me going. From a personal note, like, I don't have anyone. Like, most of my family has passed, and I can't just stop. Stopping is not an option. And, you know, when I'm feeling demotivated, I have to remember that I have to take care of myself, but I also have my dogs to take care of. and they keep me going too. It's like, hey, I got my 2 little fat furry babies and they're depending on me. So I'm going to continue to do my best. And, like talking about how like our hate fuels us, stuff like that, like not our hate, but like the hate that we receive, it fuels us out of like a spite, maybe pettiness in a way. Not everyone is as strong or maybe even approaches the hate in the same way that, maybe we do.
Everything that I am, I'm Black, I'm a woman, I'm queer, I'm all those things at once. You can't separate the two. And I feel like a lot of people try to separate those different parts of our identity in a way to try to like give us scraps. They try to get away with that. And we're putting our foot down and saying, no, you have to treat all parts of me, all parts of my identity and my humanity equally.